Welcome to Multiplanar Sectional Anatomy, RTE 255. Well, welcome to the class, everyone. My name is Teresa Hodap. I have been in the medical imaging field for almost 10 years. I've worked as an X-ray tech and an MRI tech in various healthcare settings, and I've been teaching for over 4 years. I graduated from Clarkson College in Omaha, Nebraska with my Associate of Science in Radiologic Technology, my Bachelor's of Science in Medical Imaging, and my Master's in Healthcare Administration. I've worked in Des Moines, Iowa, Houston, Texas, and now Denver. So as you flip through your sectional anatomy book, it may be overwhelming at first. And if you haven't gotten your sectional anatomy book, I recommend you do so right away. You will need it for this class. This class is going to introduce you to a whole new way to visualize anatomic structures. If you've taken A&P 1 and 2, you will be able to start recognizing these structures fairly easily. If you have not taken A&P yet, I recommend bookmarking this website that I added to this slide. It's going to be a great tool to review where anatomic structures are in this pretty 3D rendering before you dive in to look at the anatomic structures in a black and white medical image. So while all of the anatomy in your textbook is important, we are going to be focusing on pathology and anatomy that's going to be most useful to you as a medical imaging technologist. We can use various medical imaging modalities, so CT, MRI, X-ray, ultrasound, to view anatomic structures at various angles or planes. So remember your axial, coronal, sagittal planes from anatomy. That's how we're going to view this anatomy in class, only in our black and white grayscale medical images. We need to know how to locate pathology and anatomy from all of these different angles as medical imaging technologists. It's very critical for any technologist in any imaging modality to do. So while A&P Anatomy Physiology is not a prereq for this course, it is recommended. It should be said that this is not an introductory to anatomy course. It's not an introductory course. It is a level 200 class. You're going to be looking at anatomy in a completely different way. In A&P, you're looking at those pretty 3D drawings or the colored diagrams. In this class, we're using real medical images. They're black and white, they're grayscale. Some of these are the same pictures that the doctors are using to diagnose diseases. These are the same pictures that you're going to be learning how to obtain and evaluate within a medical imaging program. You will have to train your brain to see anatomy in this new light. It can be hard at first. It can be confusing, not make any sense. But the more you look at these pictures, the easier it is for you to recognize anatomy. Again, I highly recommend bookmarking this website, whether having A&P or not, to kind of use as a reference throughout this class. We can use various imaging modalities to view anatomic structures in different angles or planes. So again, those axial, coronal, sagittal planes. We're going to be covering this in Chapter 1 as a review. MRI, CT, and ultrasound obtain slices of information. So they obtain these cross-sectional images. And as an imaging technologist, you're going to have to locate the anatomy. You need to be able to recognize it on medical images to ensure you have all of the information to provide the radiologist or other physicians. If you can't view anatomy, you're not going to be able to obtain the diagnostic picture that that patient needs. So why do you need to know multiplanar anatomy? Well, for future CT and MRI techs, you will be obtaining images in all three planes, axial, coronal, sagittal, and you're going to have to be able to understand where these anatomic structures are from all angles. Again, if you can't locate the anatomy, you aren't going to be able to get a diagnostic image for that patient, and then you're going to have some angry radiologists, and you don't want to have some angry doctors at you. Future ultrasound techs, you will likely be wondering throughout this class, why do I keep looking at CT and MRI pictures? This is not what I want to do. I want to be an ultrasound technologist. Well, understanding your anatomy in that field is going to be your top priority. If you can't find an anatomic structure, how do you expect to get a sonogram of it? As an ultrasound technologist, you're going to be comparing ultrasound procedures to the patient's previous CT and MRI scans in order to get a strong understanding to know what the doctor is looking for and therefore to help you figure out how to obtain your scan. How's going to be the best method for you to visualize that anatomy or pathology. Looking at CT or MRI is also beneficial for getting the best scans of pathology. So for example, if there is an order to get a sonogram of a renal cyst, if there is a previous CT or MRI of that cyst, the ultrasound technologist should look at them first. Um, if you don't, you're going to be wasting a lot of time just scanning your patient trying to find that cyst. Whereas if you look at those previous modality images, those cross-sectional images from CT or MRI, you're going to already know exactly where that cyst is. You're going to see that that cyst was 3 millimeters in size. You're going to know the exact location, and therefore you're going to know the best images to obtain or the best way to scan your patient before you even walk into that room. And that's beneficial for you. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you from moving your wrist too much to find that anatomy. It's going to save the patient some discomfort as well for longer exams. CT and MRI are the most common imaging modalities to obtain cross-sectional pictures. And so that's what we're primarily going to be looking at, are these two modalities within this class. Every imaging modality obtains images that look different. They use different technologies and therefore their images are going to appear different. If they didn't, why would we have so many imaging technologies? Each one is going to visualize anatomy differently and it's going to help diagnose various pathologies. It's important to have a basic understanding as to how each of these imaging modalities work to better assist you with locating anatomic structures and to ultimately become a better technologist. So we do have a work at your own pace assignment to review four main imaging technologies, and that's CT, MRI, X-ray, and ultrasound. These aren't due until later in the semester, but I do suggest you get an early start on these as they may assist you with other class assignments. This class's primary objective is to locate anatomy in cross-sectional pictures. If you would like to learn more about medical imaging, techniques, technologies, the industry, I do strongly suggest you take RTE 101 and DMS 101. Your syllabus is posted to D2L. Please review each section of the course very carefully. You do actually have a mini course syllabus quiz to ensure you understand the expectations within this course. This is an online class, obviously. The attendance will be based on your participation. If you failed to turn in a weekly assignment or a weekly quiz, you will be considered absent from the class that week. Each week, you will have a lecture and a quiz to complete by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. No late quizzes will be accepted or graded under any circumstance, so plan accordingly. You will have the entire week to complete the quiz Monday through Sunday. But if the internet goes down Sunday night when you were planning on taking the quiz, that's not an exception. You basically need to plan for emergencies. For each quiz, you get 3 attempts. So I would strongly suggest taking your first attempt earlier in the week, just in case something happens that you don't get to take those final 2. A bad grade is better than a 0. There will be a midterm and a comprehensive final exam. There won't be a review for these, but the best way to study for these exams are to go through your PowerPoint objectives, make sure you can understand the objectives, and review your old quizzes and pictures. No late exams will be allowed either. You will be provided at least 3 days to attempt each exam. So 3 days for your midterm, 3 days for your final exam. Most of the time, these exams are due prior to Sunday. So make sure you're paying close attention to these due dates. Don't assume everything is always going to be due on a Sunday. Occasionally, we will have a few discussion boards to complete as well. These are graded, and the late policy in the syllabus does apply. So every week, we're going to be covering a different chapter or 2. You will have a PowerPoint and a lecture associated with each chapter. But it's important that you read every chapter. There may be information on the quizzes or exams that we skimmed over in part of the PowerPoint, but it was covered in your book, and therefore it's fair game. Could potentially be on your quiz or on one of your exams. Those pictures are very useful too, to help you be successful in this class. So you bought the book, make sure you use it. Technical issues are very rare when taking an exam or a quiz. Use your best judgment to ensure that you are in a quiet place with sufficient internet access. No internet access is not an excuse for submitted late assignments. Contact me, please, if you have problems accessing a computer or accessing the internet. There are methods that the college can provide you with. So the sooner you contact me if you have accessibility issues, the better I can assist you. PowerPoints. Hopefully by now you've found out how to listen to the PowerPoints. But if you're just reading them and you said, what, there's audio, click that little sound icon in the corner of your PowerPoint slide. Most of the time it's going to be found in the lower right-hand corner. You can also put these PowerPoints in presentation mode, and that's going to automatically play the audio for you. As I mentioned earlier, this class is going to start off as just memorization. So experiment with a few different ways to figure out what the best way to understand the anatomy and to locate all of the anatomy on your imaging planes. So I recommend taking a blank note card and covering up the side anatomic words so you just see a blank picture in front of you with some lines. Go through, see how much you know. Practice, practice, practice. If you've purchased a workbook and it's not a requirement, it is just recommended, that workbook has some great images to practice with as well. Find a partner in class to study with. There's going to be discussion boards where you can all communicate. Study a little bit every day. You can't memorize this and be successful at Sunday 10 p.m. You have to start Monday when these exams open. Start Monday when the lectures open. To review the material, take a peek at the chapter for the following week. The calendar is all laid out for you. Read the chapters. They look long, but once you start reading, you'll realize it's mostly pictures. And the text is pretty easy to follow as well. It contains a lot of critical information, your chapters do. This is a pretty intense class. It's again a whole new way to look at anatomy. It can be really confusing with these medical images to visualize structures that you're so used to looking at your human anatomy book in this nice, colored diagram. We're going to cover a lot of information in a very short amount of time. Um, you will not be successful in this course if you wait until the last minute to study. Um, this is going to be something that you need to work on throughout the week. You can't just wait until Sunday night and expect to understand this material. And this is material that you will actually use in your profession. You are going to need this as a prereq to get into your medical imaging program. You will need this class to be successful as a CT, an MRI, or an ultrasound technologist. If you have any questions throughout this course, my door is always open. Come on in, come visit the Arvada campus. I do recommend calling or emailing me just to make sure that I am here, especially if you're coming outside of my office hours. There is a discussion board that is going to be open throughout the semester on D2L. So if you have questions about a quiz, PowerPoint, or something in the book, this is actually the best place to put it. Chances are you're not the only one to have that question. I, I typically respond to these within 2 business days, so Monday through Friday. If for some reason I haven't responded to you within 3 days, please email me, please call me, so I can get back to you. If the question is about a quiz answer, I will not respond to that discussion board until the quiz has been closed. So if it's something like you are curious about a quiz question and it's Tuesday, I suggest emailing me and we'll get through the question.